All right. Okay, everyone. Welcome to the State of the Market here with Sonu Kothari. Thank you for attending today. We at Liquid Diamonds feel it's important to provide a platform for our industry's leaders to discuss the rapid change we're all experiencing and honestly just provide some perspective for everyone to appreciate. And we couldn't do this without you. So thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's conversation with someone who we think can provide unique opinions on the state of the market today and where the future will take us. Before beginning our conversation, I want to cover some housekeeping items. First, Ernie Blum told us yesterday that he has actually stepped down as the president of the WFDB and asked to be excused from this webinar, as it wouldn't be appropriate for him to join at this time. So little disappointed there, but we understand and things happen. So for those of you who have never used Crowdcast before, at the bottom of your screen, you can see an Ask a Question link, which it will be seen publicly, but during the course of the conversation, we're going to field some of these questions. At the end, we'll field some questions as well. And there's a chance that more than one of you want to ask the same question. So what I encourage you to do is actually read through the previously asked questions, and you can actually vote up for one that you think is relevant or something that you want to ask that might have already been posted so that we don't have a lot of duplication. Secondly, my name is Garrett McGinnis, and I'm the head of growth here for Liquid Diamonds. I'm excited to get this chat started. At the end, I'll share my contact info with anyone who would like to have a conversation about what we do at Liquid Diamonds or who we are. But now that that's out of the way, I want to focus our time today on just getting the thoughts of our esteemed guest here, Mr. Sonu, who's the president of the Belgium Group, New York, one of the top trading houses in the United States. Sonu, how you doing? Thanks for joining us today. You mind introducing yourself and to the attendees?
Yeah, Garrett, thank you for having me. Thank you, Liquid Diamonds. I hope everyone is staying safe, and I wish everyone a speedy recovery. Just a quick history. Born and brought up in New York. At the age of 18, went back to India to learn the diamond business. Did not go to college. We worked about 3.5 years in India, learned every aspect of the trade from rough diamonds, polished diamonds, jewelry manufacturing. Came back in 1998, started my own business with the support of my uncle, Mr. Vinod Jain. Was a one-man show, but slowly, we worked hard, and today we are where we are about 21 years later. We've had a lot of support from all different parts of the trade, from vendors, customers, our team members. So I just want to thank everyone for supporting us through this journey, and we're looking forward to the next 20.
Awesome. That's great. Well, I think everyone would love to hear your thoughts on the state of the market, with what's going on globally. Would you mind offering us your opinion of today and kind of what you might think will change as a result of the disruption we're experiencing right now?
I don't want to sugarcoat this. Really, I do think it's really bad. I think if I look back 2008, when we had the Lehman crash, that was probably the closest scenario. I do think this is much worse. New York City is at a standstill. Most of America is at a standstill. Most of the world, in fact, is on a standstill for an extended period of time. This is not going to magically come back on, turn a switch and boom, things start again. We're talking a year, probably, maybe longer. So, I think everyone, especially us, we are really hunkering down now and looking at it from a long run point of view to see how we can sort of, come out of this positively. But it's going to be a really, really tough ride. The second part of your question regarding what's going to change, I think all of us have experienced the online world. People that like to shop, even grocery, for example, right? Buying fruits, which was mostly go to the store and buy. People are doing online. So I think people being exposed to this online platforms and the ease of the way things are done online will really change the business in all aspects. And that includes the diamond business also.
Is there anything that you'd say is working today? I know that demand is dried up. We know we're hunkering down, but just generally speaking, I mean, there's what is working, if there is anything at all right now for you?
For the diamond and jewelry business, unfortunately, right now it's at a standstill. I mean, our business is down more than 90%. You know, our employees are all sitting at home. So really, I think overall, New York City, LA, Chicago, everywhere, all the big centers are totally shut down. So I don't think anything is working as of yet. But I'm hoping after May 15th, you know, things will slowly start to trickle.
So we talked. You mentioned, you know, how this crisis is different. It's more severe, at least right now, than maybe what we've experienced in 2008 or prior ones in 2001 and '98. But obviously, you started your business in '98. You've enjoyed a few bumps in the road. You know, what has, you know, how is the, like, if you look back in history, how has the diamond market evolved in the past as a result of those downturns?
So 2008 was the big one for us. Prices dropped. I remember 5 carats that we were buying at 10 below dropped to 50 below. We took a 1 week hiatus at that time, and after 1 week, we came back in the market and we started to buy and reprice our goods. But you know, this time around, I'm going to wait at least a month before I even think of buying anything. So prices, you know, dropped, but the overall business sort of stayed the same. Now I think it's going to be a little bit different because of all the social distancing that's going to need to remain in place. And, you know, I think people are going to really need to imagine and reimagine how they do their business, how they run their stores, how many people are allowed in, how many people do they need, and how do they space them. And so these are concerns that we've never had to face. And so, I mean, we're trying to plan, but really this is raw frontier. So I think we're just going to have to try to make the best of it and see what works and try to be as safe and practical as possible.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate that. Do you know, let's think about like the industry from a high level perspective. Are there, you know, what are some measures that trade organizations, you know, that they can take to allow the diamond industry to bounce back from this crisis? Any thoughts on that topic?
You know, one big concern is that, you know, the supply of the goods coming in. So demand has gone down to the tubes, right? So let's just say if things open up and demand is at 25%, let's just say, or you know, 50% rosy figure a few months from now. If supply stays at 100%, then we're, you know, I mean, look at what happened at the oil markets, right? Very simple. Demand, it crashed, and supply, even though they dropped supply 10-15%, prices crashed. You know, diamonds have been known to be a store of value. Historically, they have maintained their value and appreciated for the past 100 years plus. You know, gold has gone up. So I think if supply is kept under control, I do think diamonds will remain a store of value. And I'm hoping that if the miners and the producers can really, you know, hold the line, then overall in the next 6 months, 6 to 12 months, hopefully as demand picks up, then we won't see a crash. You know, prices will go down, but hopefully we'll try to avoid a crash of prices, is I think our best case scenario.
Definitely. I know you and I were talking about the parallels with the oil industry and in the context of the diamond industry there yesterday. But that said, you know, you mentioned kind of the next topic I wanted to discuss, which is the store of value. If diamonds are a store of value, and I think that we can agree that they are to a certain extent, what can we do to encourage that from a demand perspective? I mean, folks don't necessarily flee to diamonds as a risk mitigating asset. They might choose other sorts of commodities or goods, if you will, to store value. So what is required, I guess, for diamonds to be seen as a more liquid or better alternative for being a store of value?
The investment part of the piece, I think, is a smaller piece of the demand puzzle. I really do think that the bulk of the demand is people that are using it and not buying diamond for a diamond. Really, a diamond is what does it stand for, right? And it stands for love, and it stands for commitment, and it stands for strength. And a diamond is forever is the tagline. And so I hope, I remember in 2001, after 9/11, I had a customer in downtown, right? And everyone was shell shocked and everyone was scared. Oh my God, and terrorist attack. And this one guy, and he tells me, he said, you know what, Sonu, I think this is going to be good for business. And I spoken about 50 or 100 people, and I was like, what are you talking about, John? And he goes, Sonu, when people see death or they see bleak times, they want to focus on their loved ones. They want to, it's not all about the money. Let me spend the money now. Let me do what I think is right at the time, not wait, whether it's getting married or engaged or giving a gift to your loved one. And so, maybe I hope that we can, as retailers or as a trade, try to reach out to that emotion and try to get people to spend money on something that, maybe it's not necessary, but it's very important to show your feelings and show your commitment. And diamond is the way to do that. So that's what I'm hoping that the industry can really get around. It's not just a commodity. Diamond is really, it's much more than that. And so we really have, if we can speak to that, I think we can bring our demand back, even in these tough times.
I think that I agree. The bedrock of the story behind the diamond and the emotional drivers for purchasing a stone outside of the store value are probably more important than the idea of it being a store value, right? I think it's essentially what you're arguing.
Let me rephrase that, Garrett. Sorry, but I do think that when the consumer is buying it, they also see it as a store of value, right? It's something that will remain with them, something that will remain, will store value, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. This is something that they can come back to in time of need. So I do think that a store value is important, but I think that's sort of like a secondary function. And
oh yeah. Yeah, in the context of buying jewelry, it certainly is. Yeah, you're going to buy this ring for your loved one, and that it's not going to be worth nothing. That gives you a little bit of confidence when you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on the stone and the setting, et cetera. But I think in the context of the question we're talking about here, store value, in order for diamonds to be seen as an alternative asset class for, whether or not it's a person buying one stone or 10 stones for a store value, or for, as you mentioned, in a financial context, for investments, there has to be price transparency, and so is that something that people really want? Is price transparency across categories of stones?
I totally agree, and I like to look at it as not just from a diamond angle, from any angle. The world has, with the internet, things are opened up. You can, click on your browser and you could find value for anything. It's very open now. And so people do like that. People do want that. They do want transparency. They do want to be able to shop and compare. Those old days of hiding and trying to, just dupe the customer, it's over. So whether it's a hotel or it's an airline ticket or it's a diamond, people do want that transparency. They do need that transparency. The industry needs that transparency. And so, there's no looking back there. I agree totally.
What are some of the disadvantages of price transparency?
I mean, disadvantages from what angle? Are you talking from a consumer
I mean,
angle,
from a
from a
trader's
wholesaler
perspective,
angle?
I think everybody on this call, for the most part, is in the trade, right? So I'm not talking from like the person buying the stone at the jeweler level. I'm talking about the folks that are in the audience today. I mean, what are some disadvantages for some people in their businesses that might be in a different business than yourself, right? As it relates to price transparency.
So that's a good question. I think the price transparency function that we have right now in the trade has been these online platforms where you go and you search for a stone, 1 carat GVS 2 triple X none, type it in there, boom, pops up. That transparency is sort of flawed because each diamond is different. You have different clarities, different types of inclusions. You have BMGs, and so it's sort of there isn't a mechanism yet that really speaks to all the other factors of diamonds besides those 3 4 main 4 C's. So I think that the mechanism that we need maybe has to do a little bit more with speaking to the other part of those issues to try to get a more cleaner picture as to this diamond is this price for this reason and this one is that. It's not just the race to the bottom.
Sure. So, with regard to the mechanism, right? I think, do you think it's a realistic conclusion as a result of the current market disruption on the trade level that people start to look at their inventory and look at buying not so much in some sort of percentage, but more so in a price per carat basis as a step one to the mechanism that the industry might shift to?
Yeah, I think people, the discount mechanism is, at the end of the day, it still is price per carat, right? You buy something for 3,000, you want to make 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever you want to make. If you want to divide that as a discount, you can do that. But at the end of the day, it really is about dollars and cents. I think everyone has been sort of used to this mechanism. It's worked for many years. So people sort of have a habit, and old habits, die hard. But I do think that the natural progression is the price per carat, because other industries is the same way. You go to Amazon, you're not buying at discount, you're buying price per carat. Airlines, hotels, everything is really a price per carat function. So I do think that's the natural evolution.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm looking at the chat string, and we've got a couple of comments, from folks here and the context of what we're talking about. And I think it's important to segment in my opinion, correct me if you disagree, but the segmentation of the idea of a diamond being a store value and or price transparent and or commodity at the trader level, I think is an important evolution in where we're going right now. But that does not change, the message and the reason why people buy diamonds at the retail level, and the message that you want to send to your clients. What would you say to somebody who feels like at the trade level, price transparency and the idea of it being a commodity is not to their advantage, that it needs to be more of a high profit margin? Let's get back to the old ways of looking at a diamond as a story and a thing to behold, if you will.
So if you talk about the question is, what will we say to customers, correct?
Who is in the business like yourself, who essentially disagrees with the idea of price transparency and commoditizations and things like that. Somebody who's in the business like yourself who wants to not have price transparency. Somebody who wants to encourage beauty being in the eye of the beholder, and that profits are being killed because of price transparency and commoditization. What would you say to somebody who's in those shoes or of that perspective?
I mean, you can't turn back time, right? I mean, I would love to be in that position also, right? I think everyone would, but it's just not the reality. After COVID, right? The online world has become even stronger. So, I mean, you can't turn back time. So I do think that, if you can't beat it, you got to join it. So, with that said, I just don't think it's realistic. If you want to live in that dream world, I mean, everyone is welcome to do what they want to do, but I just don't. It's just not going to happen.
Sure. So do you think then, okay, maybe last topic here, last question specific to this debate, is will price transparency encourage the further commoditization of standard certified diamonds at the trade?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I think so there's two segments, right? We have the mom and pop retailer, right, which is the bulk of our business. And for them, to compete, they can't compete on just price. So they have been very strong in working and developing the story behind the diamond and not really just selling it as a commodity, versus some of the online retailers, I think, are promoting price and they're doing their bit on the other side. So it's a battle. It really depends on who has the right message and who can really speak to that customer. The diamonds, I don't think they are a commodity really in a major sense, because most retailers are working on higher margins than the online retailers, and they're selling the vast majority of diamonds. So customers are not really shopping for just price. Now, with that said, you do have to keep that in mind. Customers are smart. They are searching. Many retailers say, hey, customers walk in with a printout from an online retailer, and then they ask, hey, can you beat it, or can you give me a close price? So, which is the same thing. If people go into supermarkets or they go into department stores and they find an item they like, and then they search online and they see how much is this costing me online. And if the price is close, fine, they'll buy it in the store. Otherwise, they'll go online. So I think we have to really look at that, learn from that, and work with that openness and price transparency that's out there, and try to continue to give the message that this is really about not just a commodity.
Yeah. So a comment from one of the attendees, Kevin, in relation to what you just said. His question or comment is, but if a store can harness their physical store and online, isn't that the most powerful combination?
So the online world, right? So let's just say if you talk the big three, right? You have Blue Nile in America. You have Blue Nile. You have James Allen. You have Brilliant Earth. You have Britannia, right? These are the four big players. And a retailer with having such huge expenses, from my understanding, right? It would be very hard for them to compete on the 10 to 15% markup. It's just very difficult for them. So most retailers that I know of that have an online presence, they use that to bring the customer into the store. They use it to promote their store, to try to bring younger customers who are shopping, who are searching. And they give them a value for money, but it doesn't have to be the cheapest. It's not like you have to be cheaper than Blue Nile or cheaper than James Allen. But Blue Nile is selling something for $11,000 and they're selling something for $11,500, but they're offering a service. And the customer says, I'm willing to pay $500 or $1,000 more, or whatever, for this service. So I think when you marry the two together, you have a store that provides service, that helps educate the customer, helps show live product. The customer understands that, and they are willing to pay a little bit more for that. So you have to sort of merge the two and have a strategy. And if you decide online, I want to go compete against the big retailers, like, I don't know. I don't think that's a successful strategy that our retailers have employed.
Got it. So last question, I think our last comment from the crowd in relation to this topic is moving it further upstream into the supply chain. Harshad asked, polished diamonds can be, sold online, but how do you feel the rough diamond business fits into this equation?
Rough diamond equation in terms of price transparency?
I think in terms of the ability to, I don't know, his question is polished diamond can be online, but what about rough diamonds? Question. That was quote unquote his comment there.
So my understanding is that the mining world has two different streams, right? They have what's called a sort of site holder, right? The De Beers or other companies, mine holders, have site holders where they allocate a certain percentage of rough on a regular basis to these customers. And then they have what's called an auction model. And my understanding was that slowly, the auction model, which is more transparent, many people who are not site builders can go look, bid. It's an open online platform. So that's more transparency. And slowly, my understanding is that they are moving towards a more auction-based model. But I'm sure they have their own reasons for what they're doing, and they know better. But I do believe that as the auctions and the rough market increase, that'll be more transparency.
So like let's talk about the liquidity dynamic, right? So we've discussed price transparency. I think we agreed that price per carat is really the bottom line. We have agreed that there's not currently in your eyes a way to basically assess price transparency as a mechanism, if we will. Right. The closest thing we have is essentially either the listings on various websites and the asking prices from the suppliers, or the auction value that you pay is the closest thing that most folks understand as price transparency. But from a liquidity perspective, we look at this kind of differently here at Liquid Diamonds. There's a lot of people in the industry today that honestly they don't leverage data very well. We consider you to kind of be at the top of the market when it comes to having command over your business and how you assess deals. I wanted to ask you if you could share to the crowd, what are some of the main data points you use to decide which categories of diamonds to buy?
That's a very valid point. So data has not been harnessed traditionally in our industry. It's sort of been a gut approach. Is this a good value? I think it's good. All right, I'll take my gut call and I'll buy or I'll sell based on that. But data is extremely important, as you can see. In today's world, data is the new gold mine. In the diamond business, the way we have been operating and learning, and I think we still have a long way to go, is since we run a big turnover, we have a idea as to what's selling, what items sold at what price, how long did it take, and what is the supply out there, and where it's trending. We've had good results with liquid, where you guys have been able to feed us and help us with certain data and analyze certain trends as to where prices are headed, how much inventory is out there, and are the prices trending up or trending down, and try to help us. If we have certain holes in our inventory, right, we have a certain box, a grid of how many stones we want to maintain in each quality, and to find stones in items that we are short in. So we have been very happy and successful using Liquid Diamonds data points to help us buy better. And I think with that in mind, I think that's helped our business a lot.
I appreciate that plug. That said, how do you prioritize or balance your internal data versus market data? I mean, if you had walk the folks through that as well.
So, for example, we have a grid of stones, right, where certain qualities, color, clarity, sizes, which we want to maintain, right? So, for example, in the American market, right, you have the FGHI colors are selling better, so we want to have more of that in stock. And so these items, we plug it into a grid. We have an idea as to how many items we want of each based on our sales data. And then we go backwards and we try to find and maintain our inventory according to that grid, according to how many of each item we want. And so that's, it's very difficult to do on a manual basis. So we've tried to use the data that we have to help us. And the second angle is also, which is very important for us, especially, is price. So we have to be competitive. So when we sort of reload our inventory, we have to make sure that we are buying at the competitive prices. And in today's environment, it's even more and more important, because I see prices are going to go down. So we have to be very careful in how we are buying, and we don't want to overbuy just because we think something is cheap, because we don't know what the situation will be, and if prices still continue to go down, then we would get stuck. So we have to be very careful in how we buy, and our business is based on turn. So this is a very key component that we try to really stay on top of.
Yeah, I mean, you cut words out of my mouth in terms of asking you what's more important, price or turn. You just said it's turn. Do you think that turn is going to be that perspective is going to be more important as this industry evolves and comes out of this crisis right now? Is more of a focus on turn?
So honestly, I think to each their own. Everyone has sort of a specialty. I know certain people that buy, very, very high quality stones in terms of the clarities, and they pay 5, 10 points more than we do, but they're also very successful. I have people that buy bigger stones, very unique stones, and they sit and they hold on them and they make top dollar. So I think each person has their own specialty. We try to focus on what we do, and we don't want to try to. I don't think we'll be successful in trying to copy other people, and I want to become like that person or become like that person. I really have to focus on what I think I know how to do, and try to just do that as good as possible, and not try to copy and paste other people, because everyone's got their own magic, everyone's got their own secret sauce, and I can't be arrogant enough to think that I can do what they do. That's so easy, man. It's really difficult, and people have spent many years honing their systems. So I think we really, I believe that there are, a price competition or a commodity competition is not the only way.
Agreed. Agreed. So on that topic though, how do you look at maybe the cost of replacement versus the cost of purchase when you're considering your next round of buying?
Cost of replacement versus the cost of purchase. So for us, really, we focus on the cost of replacement. It's in a deflationary environment. In today's environment, it's very tough, because a lot of times you have to sell much less than what you wanted to, or sometimes even below your cost. But it is what it is. So we have to try to make sure that we are very cognizant and very aware of what's out there and what is our replacement cost, right? And so the transparency that the platforms bring, or that Liquid brings to us, or our vendors bring to us, really helps us and take these decisions as to how we should sell.
Great, great. And I want to change up topics. We're 34 minutes in here. I know we've got a handful of questions I want to reserve some time for at the end. So we're going to focus here on the last couple of really. There's three main kind of concepts I want to touch base with you here on. Online selling being one, right? So obviously we're having this webinar versus doing a panel discussion at a trade show, right? Primarily because of the lockdown and what we're going through. With trade shows being canceled. I mean, do you foresee this behavior continuing post coronavirus, or do you think that once everything recovers, we're back to normal, that the idea of having, I think I'm looking at the bottom, 256 people here, in a pretty convenient venue, do you see this sort of thing continuing?
I do think it's gonna grow. I mean, the online world and the online business is gonna grow. The show business is gonna go down, which has been the case for many years. Show business has going down. What the Las Vegas show was before and what it is today is much less powerful. Fewer people come and go. So I do think it's a natural evolution. My kids, right? They don't go to the park. They're playing their NBA 2K online. So it's just natural progression, and so. This is only going to hasten it, and like I said in the beginning, there's no light switch. Boom, you're just going to turn and everything's going to go back to normal. People are talking 12 months, 18 months till a vaccine or a treatment comes out. So I do foresee that this will trend. Now, with that said, there is a value to face-to-face interactions. I don't think the online world, how good it gets, I don't think it will replace that. So there is a place for that, but slowly that's going to go down. And as technology gets better and things get more easier, the online platforms will grow in strength. You're on mute.
Can you hear me? Sorry, I had you muted there, or I had myself muted so you don't hear an echo. But obviously, we're kind of pontificating on how we see diamonds being consumed, changing in the online world, right? Do you see a move from a diamond demand perspective in the online context going from a B2B to versus maybe B2C? What are you seeing there?
So I don't think I understand the question. Can you rephrase?
Yeah, what are the chances that a company, it goes from like a B2B model, and because the demand's low, to try to capture customer, in consumer demand, going to a B2C model? Is there a risk of that occurring in the industry, do you think?
I think it's a very romantic, beautiful thing to think that, hey, I can just get into, forward integrate into retail. I think many people are thinking about it, but retail is very challenging. We talk to customers and they have to sit down and spend hours with customers and deal with them, and then not have a sale or send them something and invest money and time and then get a return back. It's not easy. Retail is really, really hard. So, people think, a wholesaler, I have the best price. And so what the hell, I can just sell retail. Why do I need to, give that margin? But it's really hard. So I think some people will try, some might be successful, but I don't think I think today's world is becoming more of a specialty. You do what you do, and you hit it out of the park. You do it as good as possible, and not try to be everything to everyone. It's just not there. If you specialize and you do one thing and you just focus your energy and do that really, really well, I think that's where the world is going today.
So what do you think the industry can do, though, to promote the online trading of diamonds at level? Not direct to consumer, but from a B2B perspective.
Lately we've seen there's a whole bunch of new platforms that have come on board, and there are many people going and trying to promote this platform or that platform. But overall, I think just having more transparency is something that's a natural evolution. I think that's something that people are going to gravitate towards more and more. Using data, I think, is very important. How people can harness that data for their advantage, right? Each person has to figure that out. But I think we have to be smarter. We have to be very careful in as to where the market is going, and really, really be careful in how we buy and how we sell in today's challenging environment for us to succeed, for anyone to succeed.
Sure. Do you think that there's a possibility for labs like GIA to maybe improve their parameters and grading, such as BGM, black inclusions, and maybe more precise clarity grading? Is that something that you could see happening as a result of the shift to kind of more online consumption in light of the unknown future duration of coronavirus?
I agree completely. GIA, the big elephant in the room, right? So GIA does not have a cut grade on fancies. And so that's something I know they've been working on for a long time. A lot of the Indian manufacturers do have a cut grade. But so that's something that it's very hard to compare fancies, right? You polish them XX doesn't mean the stone looks nice. So that's something that's very necessary. Number two, one of the big concerns that I have, which I've brought up to Tom Moses and to many people at GIA, is that, with this lab growns coming into the picture, right, there needs to be some way for us to verify that this diamond is the same diamond that GIA graded, right? And so GIA doesn't have a they have a certificate with a image, and they have a laser inscription, which can be very easily copied. The clarity inclusions on the VVS and IF, you can't see them. So, if it's just the cut and the measurements, that's also copyable. So the GI really, I think, needs to come up with some technology so that we can have some sort of machines or some way to verify that diamond, that natural diamond, is the same one that GI graded and hasn't been switched by somebody during the whole pipeline. Number three, the clarity. I mean, there's just such a big range of clarities. The BGM part is really something that GI needs to address. How they can do that, I don't know, but that's something that they need to address, because the consumer, a lot of times gets duped, and that's not good for our industry, right? When a consumer ends up buying a hazy stone because they don't know any better, and they get something that's not as beautiful as what they thought it would be, and it just turns them off. So I do think that GI has a lot of work to do. I know that they are working on many things, and they are proceeding down that path, but images, that's another thing also that GIA is sort of lacking on. That's something they could very easily do, but I'm sure they have their limitations, and they're working on it. But we really look forward as an industry to them to develop these things to help us.
We have a question here regarding this topic, and it is: do wholesale customers find it easier to buy diamonds in the online world versus end consumers buying online?
I missed the first part of the question. Can you repeat again, Garrett?
Do wholesale customers find it easier to buy diamonds in the online world versus end consumers buying online? Example. Yeah, I think, like, are videos good enough for wholesalers versus consumers, or plots? Obviously wholesalers are going to understand plots more than an end consumer might. Is it, yeah, that's the question.
So I think lately videos have been something that, many people have been using. The retailers also have been using videos, but they still don't, they're a very zoomed in version of the stone. I think, having a video for the consumer, having something sort of a naked eye sort of look, right? Where how you see the diamond from the naked eye, not from a loop, is really the key, right? If you go to buy a suit or a shirt, right, you're not taking a loop and checking it. You just want to get the feel, and you want to see with your eyes how it looks. So having something a technology that can really give that look and that image properly to a consumer, I think that's the end goal. Videos is something that has helped us, and I think has helped many wholesalers to evaluate diamonds and to be able to buy diamonds. So it is definitely much more useful than a plot.
Sure. Okay, so last two topics, and then I want to reserve enough time to get to the questions. I've tried to add them in context as we've been going, but I know we've got 12 to 15 questions that are outstanding. So, finance. So I just kind of want to touch on finance with you. How are you seeing companies manage cash flow today?
Sorry, again, you got cut off. I'm sorry. Maybe it's my connection.
No worries.
Finance?
No worries. Just from a finance perspective, yeah. How are you seeing companies manage their cash flows today?
I mean, that has been very challenging. A lot of these big retailers have asked for extensions. We don't feel that it's fair. When we buy stones, we have been paying our people on time. In fact, some people we've paid early also. We buy something, we take a commitment. That's our commitment to uphold. And many retailers are trying to renege on their commitments based on the situation. But that's honestly, I mean, that's their problem, right? That's not my problem. If something happens to their situation, it's unfortunate, but that's their problem. And when they make their problems our problems, it's unfortunate. It is what it is. But I hope that people will really, and some people will do this, and will get to feel, in 2008, this happened. Some people returned merchandise. Some people didn't pay or slept. And certain people, they stayed strong. They stayed true to their commitments. And then people later on start to realize the value of that and say, hey, listen, I don't mind making a little bit less profit or selling a little bit cheaper or giving better terms or whatever, so on and so forth, to these companies that really did stand by their commitments. And so, the people that resort to this short term, in the long run, they're going to suffer. And the people that do the right thing in the long run, I think they're going to come out ahead. So, it's challenging. Payments are tight. People are under a lot of pressure, understandably so. But I hope that the strong will still continue to make their commitments, and I'm sure that those are the ones that are going to keep growing and develop this business and take it further.
I think that there's going to be maybe a financial model for sustainability coming out of this, like a shift to more of a consignment model, or just a lack of leverage, generally speaking. I mean, what are your thoughts on what lessons are people going to learn, when they come out of the end, kind of like, at the end of the 2008, 2009 crisis? I think people learned a lot about leverage, at least, in the context of real estate. What do you think lessons are going to be learned from this situation?
So in America, really, it hasn't been, the banks have not been really financing the diamond business. We're looked at the bad boys and, oh, these people are all thieves and money launderers and God knows what. They just throw everything at us on the book. Some banks actually have even shut down accounts just banking with them, just normal depositing checks, like giving them our money. They just said we don't want it because of all these regulations. So the industry, unfortunately, has gotten a bad name, and there are a few bad apples, but really overall the industry is full of good people, honest people. So America really, I don't think, is in a leverage crisis in our industry. Overseas, I do know that many people are levered up the wazoo, and that's very dangerous. And I hope that people will slowly, the banks will realize that they need to reduce this, because really they're the ones giving out the money. And if it's sort of free money, and it's like a drug, right? And you'll take it if you get it. So I think the banks have to be more cognizant of the fact that they have to be very careful, and if there's less money out there, then I think people will really resort to a more stable and a safer business, and that's healthy for the whole industry.
Agreed. Okay, so last topic I want to talk about is kind of the idea of deglobalization, meaning obviously we've been on this trend of globalization, right? Many manufacturers now are potentially selling direct to retailers and therefore disintermediating wholesalers. With coronavirus, do you see retailers buying from more local suppliers as opposed to global suppliers?
No, actually, honestly, I think it's the other way around. I think everyone is going to, sort of be in survival mode now, right? I like somebody, I appreciate the service that they give, but you know what? If I can make an extra $500 or $200, right now I need that money to pay my bills and pay my employees and my rent. I think it's gonna worsen now, and it's natural evolution. We embrace it. It's hard for us. We have to compete with our vendors, so it's hard for us also. It's hard for, I think, everybody now. The world is becoming smaller, and so I think what we go back to is we really try to focus on what we do and try to do that better, and try to be more cost effective and be more efficient, and give a better value to the customer. And the customer is a very smart customer, right? A retailer is a very smart customer, and they understand. They're not stupid. And they know that if they're having to pay a couple $100 more, but they get certain advantages from working with a local dealer who understands them, who could provide them goods on consignment when they need it, who's flexible on the terms, who understands their needs, they're willing to pay a couple $100 more because it's value to them. So as long as we can provide value to our customers, sure, they're going to give us business. And I don't think that the overseas manufacturers understand that. Just like we don't understand retail, right? It's, yeah, I could do retail. Yeah, no, I can't. And if they think they can provide service to retailers, it's not that easy. So as long as we do what we do, and we really work hard at it, I do think that we will hold our own.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to transition over to the audience questions at this point. So bear with me as I read these to you. Hopefully, the context will make sense. In that they're not going to be in the context of the conversation that we're having right now, but they're going to be all over the place because people have been posting these as we've been having a chat. So the one that has the most votes is we have a scenario that post-COVID there will be a significant drop in the demands of diamonds and diamond jewelry. What steps can be taken to align the supply line with that of demands? And then specifically, it is said our industry needs serious and ongoing marketing campaigns, celebrity endorsements, influencers. Will the midstream traders, be involved in this effort?
Yeah, I think we've seen our industry very fragmented. You got to put it on mute. The industry has been very fragmented, and just getting a concerted effort has been, really impossible to do. So I think each person has to do what they do. Definitely more marketing of diamonds, not just as a commodity, but marketing the emotion behind diamonds is very important, and social media is a very powerful tool to bring demand back, right? And don't wait. And if you need to get married, get married. Life is short. Do what you need to do now, right? And get that message out. It's very important. And then on the supply side, we are going to slow down our buying. We're going to reduce our inventory. We're going to get more nimble. And I think people are going to need to understand and rethink how they do their business in today's reality, and be in it for the long haul, right? This is not a 1 month, 2 month, 3 month ordeal. This is going to take a long time. That's the way I feel. And so we have to align our supply side, and we have to work and do what we can to try to support our customers, to spread the message, to give them whatever support they need to really get that message across that, that diamonds are not just a luxury purchase, right? They could go ahead and buy a $200 ring and still give that emotion and give that love to somebody that they feel deserves it.
I think a fair answer there. So the next question is, I fear that some financially weak miners can cause major damage to the actual crisis. How can we overcome that?
I mean, I don't think there's anything we can do. There were rumors in the market that some miners sold the rough 20% cheaper, 30% cheaper, but what basis was that based on? I don't know. As long as the big 3-4 companies, the De Beers and Arosa and the other 3-4 big houses, if they're smart, which they have been, right? In 2008, they did the same thing. 2001, they did the same thing. So, if history is what we learn from, they'll do the same thing. They're doing it now. India has been shut down, right? Which is the major manufacturing center. So there's no new production, and the manufacturers hopefully will keep their production a little bit slow. So if a few small rough players sell, $5-10 million of rough, that's not going to crash the market, right? And so I'm hoping, and I'm pretty confident that things won't crash, but small prices did drop in 2008, and they will go down now, and it's just reality, and everyone will have to deal with it.
Next question is, will this pandemic be the final nail in the coffin for natural diamonds as against lab grown?
No. I mean, lab grown has its place. I know there's many people that say lab grown is going to go out of business, and I don't think so. I think they have a place in the market, but as my wife likes to buy these expensive purses when she could go and buy them off the street for $20, but no, she wants the real thing, and she wants to spend the thousands of dollars. And I understand her psyche, and I understand the psyche of many people that want a natural product, right? This is not just about the diamond as it's a piece of carbon. It's really the emotion that it gives, the emotion and behind it. And so I don't think the natural diamond industry is going to get destroyed, but there will be a place for lab grown. it really is about the messaging. If you look at the messaging and the marketing of lab grown, they're not promoting it on a price. They're really promoting it on being a green diamond or a environmentally friendly diamond, right? They're trying to sell the diamond story, but just in a different way. So as long as the natural diamond people can sell that same story, and this is the real deal, right? This is a real diamond, right? And the lab grown is not real, right? That it is a diamond, but it's not a real thing. So as long as people can get that message across, there is a market for it, right? I mean, many of us have these brand name watches that you can buy a watch for $20, but people are paying $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 for a watch. So there is a market. There will be a market. This is not the end of the world. Definitely not.
Okay, what are your thoughts if the USA restricts all consignment of diamonds and jewelry from all over the world?
I don't understand. What do you mean the USA restricts? How do you mean?
Yeah, the question is, what are your, I think he's trying to say, thoughts, the world, if USA restricts all consignment of diamonds and jewelry? I think he's maybe suggesting if the U.S. restricts the shipment of diamonds into the country. I honestly am having a hard time understanding the question myself, but I don't know if you can get anything from that. There's 3 votes for it though, so it's obviously there's more than one person in the audience that understands what this person's asking and has voted it up.
Yeah, no, I mean the government's not going to do anything like that. They didn't do it in 2008. They didn't do it in 9/11. I don't think anything of that sort is going to happen. They want business to come back. They make a lot of money from business, right? There's taxes and sales tax and income tax, so they want business to come back. So I don't foresee them. U.S. government has not been a heavy-handed government. There've been more free market approach, so I don't see that happening.
So we have a shift to shorter terms. Do you think that's going to be a change in the financial landscape potentially for us?
I mean, I hope so. And people, if they want to keep extending terms, right? So the problem is, right? I was talking to some dealers, right, and our mechanism of approving new customers is doing a credit check, right? And a credit check inherently is based on past credit. But with this whopper that came through with COVID, right? People have been devastated. So I don't know, what your finances look like, or you don't know what my finances look like because of this devastation, right? This hurricane that came through, category 8 hurricane. How do you give credit to somebody now? They were good, they were making payments, but I don't know where they are right now. I don't know where they stand. So I think everyone, we have been very careful with credit. We have told many customers that, if you want a stone from us, you take it on consignment. We're willing to give it to you. But if you sell it, when you get paid, we want to get paid, right? This is our money. It's not your money to pay us in 30 or 60 days whenever you want. No, if you get paid in 10 days, we want our money in 10 days. Or if you get paid in 30 days, we want our money in 30 days. And I think people, if they're going to go back to the old credit ways, like I fear a lot of people are hurting. A lot of retailers have already had one foot out the door, and a lot of people will close down. A lot of people will go out of business, because there's less demand. So you have to, you should be, we are going to be very, very careful in how we extend credit.
Are you, do you use the JBT credit ratings at all when you assess that yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you see their announcement? They're doing a pre and post COVID credit rating.
Correct. Yes. Just found that out yesterday. It's going to be very challenging. Yeah,
it's going to be. I think that's the post COVID is going to take some time to sort out. Obviously, from folks like yourself reporting that. But that said, I think that's a responsible modification in their approach to managing the crisis. So hopefully that helps. The dynamic of how long your term is going to be, right? Okay, next question. Do you see the U.S. will impose import taxes on diamonds and jewelry?
No. more
Next
than what
question.
they have now? No.
Yeah, no, yeah. So with the world's economies in total disarray, how important are diamonds, and how do diamonds and jewelry figure into today's family economies?
Family economies? I don't understand.
Nor do I.
Okay, I think I answered the question before. I do think, similar 9/11, right? People were shocked and scared and nervous, right? And even today, COVID has a 1.5% fatality rate, right? So, 99% of people are getting better, right? And so it's not as devastating as it's the fear. So if you look back at 9/11, there was fear. I don't know, should I get on that flight? Should I travel? I don't know. And so when fear comes in the market, there people go back to their families and their loved ones, and they try to go back to the basics, and jewelries and diamonds are about that emotion. So if we can speak to that, and we can talk about that and say, hey, listen, I've been working hard and chasing money, but money is not everything. Today I'm sitting at home for 40 days and or 60 days, God knows, and I'm with my family, and they're the ones that are there for me, right? And my wife or my girlfriend or whoever, whatever relationships whoever has with whoever people, that's important. And so gift giving, and especially diamonds and diamond jewelry, is very important if that is valuable to you. And people a lot of times realize the value of family. I've gotten phone calls from so many people that we never spoke to, right? Didn't have the time to, and just connected with them. So I think diamonds and diamond jewelry, hopefully, are marketed down that same path, and we see some demand coming from there, hopefully even in this time of crisis.
Okay, we've got a question as it relates to small manufacturers and small traders. What can they do? What type of action can they take to survive at this point in time?
I mean, do what you do. If you try to become, I want to become the big boy. I want to become. If you're a small manufacturer, diamond manufacturer, I want to become Venus, or I want to become Hari Krishna, right, or SRK, right? That's not you, right? You got to do what you do. What are your strengths? We're going back to our strengths, right? We're not saying now we're going to open a retail store or we're going to start manufacturing. What do we do? And we're going to try to double down on that and really work as hard as we can, roll up our sleeves. And so a manufacturer, everyone has their own specialty, right? Someone might be doing a certain type of cutting that's special, or has a certain specialty in some field. And if, as long as they can continue to do that better than other people, they will come out of this stronger.
Another question here, kind of correlated. Do you think it will help the trade if manufacturers stop selling stones to retailers directly at the same price they give to traders?
Yeah, it would help. It's not going to happen, right? I mean, that's just the way it is, right? You have to go with the way the world is headed, right? The way the wind is headed, right? Yeah. COVID, hopefully COVID just gets solved tomorrow. Everything, wishful thinking is good, but it's not going to happen. So, the world is being open and transparent, and certain manufacturers are going to get into retail, also try to get into retail, and retailers are going to try to get into manufacturing, and the world is going to get smaller and smaller, and everyone has to see where they fit in and how they bring value for what they bring, right? Instead of trying to stop the other person, it's not going to happen.
Okay, folks are adding to the question log as we converse here, and in recent last 10 minutes, one that's gotten a lot of traction is, is RapNet going to be history after COVID?
RapNet is a good platform. It's worked for many years. There's other platforms also that we use, that we are posting on now, that are, we feel also are very good. I look at it from, say, cell phone providers. Right? In America, you have 4 big cell phone providers, right? And Verizon might be good in certain things, and AT&T might be good in certain things, and T-Mobile is good in certain things. So having a choice is helpful for the consumer, right? And let the consumer decide, right? The retailer is going to decide what platform they want to use, and which platform they think is the best for them. And you know, we cannot force anyone to do what they want to do, right? It's just not the way things work.
Sorry, I thought I had you muted there. Sorry if you had an echo on that one. That said, a couple other questions kind of related with regard to options, alternative options. I mean, we kind of touched on it in terms of price per carat being maybe the first mechanism, but alternative options to the price list and or another form of discounting method that the industry could use. Where do you see? I'm kind of combining 3 or 4 questions here into one concept. What do you see in terms of the evolution of that pricing guidance mechanism, discount method, et cetera?
So I personally, I don't think a price list is something that's necessary. If you look at other industries, it's not necessary. It's not something you need. Yes, you need transparency. Yes, you need some sort of market mechanism to see what are the prices, but those mechanisms are out there, right? And you can click and go online, whether it's an end consumer who goes online and looks and searches and compares diamonds on Rare Carat or Blue Nile or James Allen, or a trader that goes on any of these online platforms and searches for a diamond. And that's really the mechanism where people realize what is the price going on for the type of stone or commodity, item that I have. And then you based on that. So if something is selling for 3,000, I want to buy it for, 2,500 or 2,000 or 2,900, whatever. It doesn't have to, I don't think a price list, it's something people have a habit of, and they're used to it. Like, I need my morning coffee, and it's just the way the world works. And I think post-COVID, a lot of people are realizing that, they were used to certain things, and now, they don't have it, and they've had to adjust, and they've survived. So it's not that it's necessary to do business that I have to have a price list. Like, this is price per carat, and I buy and sell based on that.
Yeah, there was a gentleman, actually 2 different folks, just generally talking about the unity associated with the industry, and the comments. Just generally wanted to get your thoughts on, how folks are kind of banding together in light of the crisis and communicating maybe more openly than they ever have before. What are some of the positives that you're seeing, I guess, as a result of the disruption? And the reaction that people are taking right now in response to that, in response to the crisis.
I mean, I think it's been amazing. I think the diamond community, or the diamond jewelry community, has been very supportive of one another. People have been sharing so much, and many trade organizations here in New York. You have the DDC, and then you have the IDCA, and they have been really disseminating a lot of information and doing a lot of helpful advice, giving to the trade on multiple different things going on, right? Whether it's the government programs or other COVID steps people are taking. So I think it's been amazing. The industry has been working together, and all different players have been really trying to support one another instead of trying to attack one another. So it's something that's you really get to see these in times of need, right? People band together, and I'm very impressed and very happy, and I'm trying to do my part, whatever I can. I'm to be open, and I think we get through this together. And it's not a zero-sum game. It's I win, you lose. We all can win, but we have to really work together as a team, right? And that, even just me alone, right? I'm nothing without my vendors, without my customers, with my team members, right? We're nothing. So none of us are. So we have to work together, and it's really been amazing. And hats off to the industry.
I think that's a good way to wrap it up. I think that everybody here has enjoyed your time, your perspective on everything. I appreciate the audience for asking so many good questions and participating. The outpouring of support for this webinar is fantastic, given the number of people that we have listening in on this chat today. I think Kashyap, my partner, is going to post to the screen here at the closing my contact information. If anybody would like to get in touch with me, this is not a sales pitch for Liquid Diamonds. This is a chat with Sonu, but I'm happy to have a sales pitch with you after the fact if you want to talk about it, and some of the ways that not only do we help Sonu with data, but also our patent on solving the price transparency challenge that the market is currently having. We have the solution for that, but we'll talk about that at a different time. I am hosting a demo tomorrow, and happy to have anybody jump on that. I'm sorry, on Thursday of this week. We're going to be doing the demo. If you reach out to me, I'll send you an invite for that. And all in all, thanks for coming, Sonu. Any last thoughts, or are you good to go?
No, I'm good. Just thank you, everybody. Be safe, and feel free if anyone wants to reach out to me. Also, Garrett, if you could just put that information if someone wants to, has any personal questions, or we're out there. We're trying to work together with everybody, and I hope everyone stays safe. And I think we are going to come out of this, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. So just stay strong. Be well.
All right. Thank you.